You feel like you have a great deal of unused capacity which you have not turned to your advantage. You have a tendency to be critical of yourself. You pride yourself as an independent thinker. You value deep connections but often prefer to be alone. You don't like superficial conversations. You feel like most people don't understand you. If that felt like it was written specifically for you, then you just fell for a psychological trick that's been used for over 70 years. Not by geniuses, not by masterminds, but by psychics, fortune tellers, and now content creators. And the uncomfortable part is this. You didn't just recognize yourself in those statements, you believed them. Back in 1948, a psychologist named Bertram Forer ran a simple experiment. He gave his students a personality test. They answered honestly, thoughtfully. Then he collected their answers, ignored every single one, and gave them all the exact same personality profile. The same one, every student. And then he asked them to rate how accurate it was. The average score? 4.3 out of 5. Nearly perfect. Each person believed that the description was uniquely tailored to them, but it wasn't. It was generic, carefully written, but generic. This phenomenon is now called the Forer effect, or the Barnum effect, and it operates on one simple principle. People accept vague, general statements as highly accurate as long as those statements feel personal. Now take that experiment and scale it. Scale it to millions of people. Scale it to algorithms. Scale it to a platform like YouTube. And what you get is an entire ecosystem built on one thing: subjective validation. Look at the structure of these videos. Signs you're different, traits of highly intelligent people, psychology of people who stay silent. They all follow the same formula: high-frequency traits, low specificity. Statements like, you enjoy being alone, but you crave deep connections. That sounds deep, but break it down. Everyone enjoys solitude at times. Everyone wants meaningful relationships. It's not rare. It's human. Here's another one. You are highly self-aware, but you sometimes overthink. Again, it feels accurate, but it's structured to be unfalsifiable. If you relate, it's true. If you don't, you're not self-aware enough yet. You can't lose, which is exactly why you believe it. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because this isn't just psychology, it's economics. There is a market for feeling special, and it's massive. Think about it. If a video tells you only 1% of people are like this, and that video has 5 million views, the math collapses instantly, because either the claim is false, or the audience is misunderstanding it. But emotionally, it doesn't matter, because the goal isn't accuracy, the goal is resonance. There's a character in The Incredibles who said something that sounds simple, but cuts straight through this entire system. When everyone is special, no one is. And that's exactly what's happening. Specialness has been mass-produced, packaged, distributed, and consumed. Now, let's be precise. This doesn't mean everything in those videos is false. That's where most people make the mistake. They think, if it's not unique, it must be wrong. No. It can be true and still meaningless, because truth without context has no power. Take the lone wolf identity. You keep to yourself, you don't rely on others, you move in silence. Sounds powerful, but that same pattern could come from discipline, distrust, past rejection, lack of social skill. Same behavior, different causes, different outcomes. One version builds focus and independence. The other isolates you and limits your influence. From the outside, they look identical, but strategically, they're opposites. This is the part most people never analyze. They stop at recognition. I relate to this, and they mistake that for understanding. But recognition is not insight. It's just the beginning. Now go deeper. Why does your brain accept these statements so easily? Because your brain is not designed for truth. It's designed for efficiency. Processing accurate, detailed self-analysis is expensive. It requires effort, discomfort, contradiction. But accepting a clean identity? That's cheap, fast, rewarding. So when you hear, you are different, your brain doesn't question it. It rewards it. There's a psychological bias at play here, self-enhancement bias. You naturally prefer information that elevates your identity, confirms your beliefs, makes you feel above average. And these videos are engineered to trigger that. But there's a second layer, and this one is more subtle. Narrative adoption. You don't just see traits, you see stories. You see characters, you see archetypes. Characters like Thomas Shelby or Patrick Bateman represent control, detachment, precision. So when you behave in ways that resemble those traits, you start mapping yourself onto those identities. Not because it's accurate, but because it's available. You don't just say, I prefer being alone. You say, I'm that type of person. And once that label is in place, something dangerous happens. You stop questioning it. Because questioning it would mean you might not be who you think you are. So instead of analyzing your behavior, you defend it. This is where the trap forms. Let's say you identify as an introvert, a lone wolf, emotionally detached, highly analytical. Now those labels start influencing your decisions. You avoid situations because that's not me. You limit your behavior because that's not my personality. And without realizing it, you've turned a description into a constraint. This is why it matters. Because identity is not just something you have, it's something that shapes what you do next. If you believe, I'm not social, you won't practice social skills. If you believe, I'm different from everyone, you won't try to understand them. If you believe, I don't feel emotions like others, you won't develop emotional intelligence. And over time, those beliefs become reality. Not because they were true, but because you acted as if they were. That's the real mechanism. It's not the video that limits you. It's what you do after you believe it. Now step back. Ask yourself something simple. Out of all the traits you identify with, how many of them actually improve your outcomes? Not how they make you feel, not how they define you, but how they perform. Because in reality, traits are not valuable on their own. They're only valuable in context. Being quiet can increase focus or reduce visibility. Being detached can improve decision-making or damage relationships. Same trait, different result. So the real question isn't, what kind of person am I? The real question is, when does this trait give me an advantage and when does it cost me? That's where awareness becomes strategy, because most people stop at identity. Very few move to control. They say, this is who I am, instead of asking, how do I use this? That shift changes everything, because once you see traits as tools, you stop defending them and you start adjusting them. You don't protect your identity, you optimize it. And optimization requires something most people avoid: brutal accuracy. Not flattering descriptions, not clean labels, but real cause and effect understanding. Why do you isolate? Is it focus or avoidance? Why do you not post? Is it discipline or fear? Why do you feel detached? Is it control or disconnection? These are not comfortable questions, but they are necessary ones, because without them, you stay in the loop. Consume content, recognize yourself, feel validated, repeat. It feels like growth, but it's not. It's stagnation with better language. Now here's the shift. Stop looking for labels that describe you. Start looking for patterns that limit you. Because once you identify a pattern, you can change it. But once you identify with a label, you protect it. And protection kills evolution. So instead of asking, am I different? Ask, am I effective? Because effectiveness compounds. Difference does not. Difference might make you stand out, but effectiveness makes you win. And the two are not the same. At the end of the day, you don't need to be rare. You don't need to be unique. You don't need to be that type of person. You need to be adaptable, because adaptability is what allows you to enter different environments, handle different people, solve different problems. And that is where real advantage comes from. So the next time you hear people like you are rare, pause and ask yourself, is this helping me improve or just helping me feel better? Because one leads to growth and the other leads to illusion. And most people spend years choosing the illusion because it's easier to live with.